Hi everyone, and welcome to another edition of Legends Under Lights. It's the chance where we get to catch up with all the legends of our fantastic sport. It's brought to you by Legacy Lighting, and for all your sports lighting needs, just head to legacysportlighting.com and I'm sure you'll find everything you need. Well, my guest today, well, he's one of the most recognised players of all time, I'd say. 2 Commonwealth Games, 5 Asia Pacifics, 5 Trans-Tasmans, 2 World Championships, and a host of other test appearances for Australia. He's just one of 3 Australians that have won the Commonwealth Games gold medal in singles, and he was Aussie Cap 102, Kelvin Kerkow. How are you, Kelvin?
Yeah, great to be with you, Clive.
Yeah, mate, it is an absolute pleasure. Let's throughout this interview, we'll delve through a few of your performances and so forth. But take us through the early days for you. You were born in 𝘗𝘳𝘰𝘶𝘥𝘭𝘺 in Queensland to Ivan and Joan, and yeah, take us through the early days. What that looked like for Kelvin Kerkow.
Yeah, I guess my whole bowls career probably worked itself around not being able to play cricket, more contact sorts of sports like football when I was young. So basically, when I was 8 years of age, my parents owned a peanut property, 350 kilometres sort of northwest of Brisbane. For the ones that don't know where 𝘗𝘳𝘰𝘶𝘥𝘭𝘺 is, obviously famous for peanuts. My parents had a farm, and woke up one morning, 4:30 in the morning to get up to go to the toilet, and basically I couldn't get out of bed. Overnight, I'd basically become paralysed. So my parents at the time didn't know what was going on, rushed me to the local hospital, which was the 𝘱𝘳𝘦𝘥𝘭𝘺 hospital at the time. I was very fortunate that there was a relieving doctor there, been in a little country town, that had actually seen what I'd developed overnight, and it was called Guillain-Barré syndrome. So it's a virus that completely paralyses you from head to toe within 12 to 24 hours. And basically he knew that that's what I had. So I was then basically rushed by ambulance, approximately 350 kilometres in an ambulance to the Royal Children's Hospital in Brisbane, where I then basically was completely paralysed, put on a tracheotomy, as you can see, a life support system, spent 12 weeks in intensive care, and then I spent another 9 months in hospital at the Royal Children's in Brisbane. And the walking stick I use to this day is actually the walking stick that I left the Royal Children's Hospital with when I was, about 9 years of age. So pretty much in a nutshell, I was, 3 months on intensive care, 9 months in hospital, and it was 2 years before I learned to walk again. So that's why I took up the game of bowls. My parents had just started playing the game at the time. So they took me down to the local bowls club at that time, which was 𝘱𝘳𝘦 Golf and Bowls Club. And I actually had my very first game of bowls from a wheelchair on a bowling green, and put a few bowls down. And that was the way my career started. Just before I got sick, I'd actually qualified for the Queensland State running title. So like the 100, 200, 400 metre running sprints. I'd won what we call the regional, the South Burnett, which was the area that we were from, only sort of weeks before. But obviously that never come off. So might have been a fast sprinter, who knows. But bowls developed, and it all started from there.
Mate, if there's no more inspiration to come from this interview, that story right there, that's amazing stuff. Were you aware of what was going on in terms of when that all happened? Were you in your mind, was the mind saying, hang on a minute, what's going on here?
No, it was it was scary at the time, of course. I do have little or no memory for a certain period of time. Like I do remember arriving via ambulance to the Royal Children's Hospital. I remember seeing operation theatre, basically lights, and that was obviously when they'd done the tracheotomy, put me on a life support, and probably for the next 6 or 8 weeks was a complete blank. I don't remember anything. It got to the stage where basically I couldn't blink, so I was completely just lying flat on my back. I had a machine next to me that just pumped air into my oxygen levels to keep me alive. So obviously at that time it was really hard for my parents. My mother basically moved to Brisbane and moved into her sister's place, which was 20 kilometres from the hospital, for 6 months, just to be bedside with me. So while my father worked on a farm. So yeah, it obviously, it makes you realise now how tough they would have done it as parents. And I've got a couple of boys as well now. So, it would have been a hard time for them knowing that they had a son that was intensive care on a life support, and yeah, not much happening.
They must look back to those moments and marvel, because if we fast forward to 2006, to think that you'd be there at that stage, to think back to you as an 8-year-old and then look at it and say in 2006, you would join, well, at that stage, only one other man that had won Commonwealth Games singles gold for Australia. That must have been the most emotional time for you. I mean, playing a Commonwealth Games in your home soil would be remarkable enough, but on the journey you'd been on, take us through some of that emotion.
Yeah, well, it was. It was obviously the biggest highlight of my lawn bowls career. I mean, it's an honour to put on the green and gold and play for your country and play for Australia. And, I still remember playing my first game for Australia. I got a call up to go to Noosa, but when Robbie Dobbins was the coach back then with, the Australian team in the early days. But I guess, yeah, Melbourne 206, the highlight memories, unbelievable. Up until that date, it was the most successful Australian lawn bowls team. We come away with medals. The men's triples won. Karen Murphy and Lindsay Clark won the ladies pairs. The team went really well. And obviously the men's singles is at the back end of the Commonwealth Games. It's always the last Grand Prix event, you would say. I had other Australian teammates, both, the female and men's team, that had medals, and I wanted a medal, of course. And obviously I had a gold or a silver once I got through to the final. And to play a great guy that I'm good friends with in Robert Wheel from Wales, I think to get to the stage where back in those days, of course, it was sets play, one set all, one end all. It basically came down to a measure at one stage on the second end of the tie-break end. I had to win that end, and it was an umpire's measure, and I got it to take it to basically an absolute one-all situation. Whoever wins next end wins the gold medal. So to win it at Melbourne, obviously the sporting capital of Australia, just to be part of the team, the Commonwealth Games team, play for Australia, and with the crowd that was there on that particular night, which was perfect conditions. It was really calm. There's no wind, massive grandstand at the back. It was absolutely packed to the rafters. And to win that gold medal, I guess, to win on that last end and, rip my shirt off, everyone remembers me for, I guess. It doesn't happen in bowls. And it was one of those things. I think it was just the passion and the joy, for what I'd come through from my early childhood illness to representing Australia, to winning a Commonwealth Games gold medal, and have all your teammates, run out in the green and lift you in the air with Wayne Turley and Nathan Rice and Barry Lester and Karen Murphy and Lindsay. So, it was a great team, and it was the highlight of my career, and still have those memories. So they're great memories to have.
Mate, 1-1 in the tie-break, so you got one end to play for a gold medal. How's the mind working at that point? Is it clear? Is it nervous? Is it focused? What is it?
Well, it was probably, when I go back and look at it, look back on those things and you talk about it years on, even that third end, I guess, I was actually more relaxed on that end than until obviously the last bowl went down with Robert Wheel. I could feel a bit of tension, I guess. But in actual fact, when I played my first and second bowl, I wasn't nervous at all. I actually felt very relaxed. Obviously, I think with all the games you get to play, you can't buy experience in any sport, and the same goes for bowls. I think experience goes a long way. It draws on that depth that you have, and I've been playing for Australia for quite some time, and I think all the singles games, obviously singles is a very lonely game as well. It's great when you're winning, But if you're on the back end and you're having a losing streak and not winning many games, people start saying, well, you're not playing well. And, it gets to you mentally and physically. And I think, I felt relaxed. And I think at the end of the day, that's what got me over the line, the pressure was all on Robert Wheel once I had the shot and had the end. And, yeah, he missed and I won. So, and I was thrilled to pieces. And it was nothing more pleasing to see Robert Wheel go on and win it 4 years later in India. So, he'd had a couple of attempts before, so it was great to see that happen.
Fantastic. Look, talk us through what it takes. I'm interested in the X factor that it seems to take to win a gold medal in the Commonwealth Games singles, because when you look at the players that have done it, Rob Parella, yourself, and now Aaron Wilson, and we'll talk about Aaron Wilson in 2018 in a moment, but all of you have got that X factor in your game where you're willing to play the big shots or play the unorthodox shots. Is that what it takes?
Yeah, listen, I think you've got to be a bit of a gambler. I mean, if you talk about unorthodox, I think, I've always had a really good drive in the back of my artillery, you would say. It's won me a lot of games, especially on, I guess, good playing surfaces back in the days. And obviously I probably got that from Rob Parella in the early days when I started playing with him when I was 17 and 18 and 19. I probably gained that drive, which I felt was a real thing to have. But yeah, certainly, you can gamble a bit, and I think Aaron Wilson's probably one of those players as well. He plays a bit unorthodox. He likes to play a swinger when he's got nothing there, or trail a jack, or you got to back yourself to play the shot. And I think that's the thing. If you've got faith in yourself and think you can do it and believe you can do it, you've got the instinct and the experience to do it. It's a matter of just putting it together and play the shot and do the job. I always say, the more games that you ever get to play against the better players, your game goes to another level. And Australia's, I think, for a long time has had, some of the best players in the world. Probably just hasn't shown at certain times. They've just been beaten in a semi-final here or there in a Commonwealth Games or, major championships. I think, I was lucky. I mean, I put the practice in. It's the same thing, leading up to the Melbourne Commonwealth Games in 2006. I was down there every 2 weeks. I practiced on every rink. I think Barry Lester was, he practiced every week. I mean, he was a local lad, so he could go there whenever he wanted to and practice. I had to fly down every couple of weeks, spend 3 or 4 days there, be at the venue for 6 or 8 hours practicing on those greens, which weren't the best greens in Australia. I can't say I won the gold medal on 17, 18 second tiffies, which is what I loved to play on in those days. I had to win on a 12-second, 40-metre green, ditch to ditch, which was a real heave. And that probably wasn't my game and it probably wasn't my strength, but I had to change my game to be able to play on those slower greens, I guess, that, Darebin produced, because they were brand new greens at the time. They were purposely built for the Commonwealth Games. They were built on a dump site. So, there was, they weren't the best greens. They definitely got better. When I won the gold medal that night, it was probably as good as the greens had been for the whole tournament, because I think they'd been play on them for 2 weeks straight. They played all day, every day, night sessions. So, they were reasonably okay, but it wouldn't have got over 13 seconds.
When you win the gold medal, mate, the conditions are perfect. They have to be.
Yeah, that's it. You got to beat your opposition, and whatever's thrown at you, you got to play it.
Talk about your relationship with, you touched on Rob Parella there. We'll get to Glass in a sec, but your relationship with Rob Parella, he's featured on Legends Under Lights and did talk about you and the respect that he holds for you in the game. And he was influential in your career early on.
Yeah, well, it all started, I guess, when my parents sold their farm in 𝘗𝘳𝘰𝘶𝘥, moved to the Gold Coast. Rob Parella was, in his peak in the 80s. I think in 1989, Robbie Parella asked me to play in the Gold Coast Winter Carnival, which at that time was the Gold Coast Winter Carnival was a huge event on the Gold Coast. You know, they had over 1,000 entries in the singles. The pairs was big. The fours carnival, you know, it was huge in those days. And basically, yeah, Rob asked me to come in and play with a couple of other young guys, and we ended up making the final. In actual fact, we ended up winning the Gold Coast Winter Carnival fours. I played 3 for Rob, so that's where I think I learnt to, well, you know, Robbie said, hit it, you know, like you got to hit it, as he'd say. But yeah, you know, Robbie was at his peak, so I seen him play and play with him when he was at his peak. I mean, he was the best driver I've ever seen. Obviously, Ryan Bester's one of the best drivers in the game now as such. But back in those days, Rob Parella was no doubt the best driver in the game. He was, you know, he was absolutely awesome. So just playing with him, learning from him, and he gave me the opportunity to play with him. So, you know, I tried to take that on board. And, you know, obviously, I guess on the green, he was, what did you say, could be quite savage, and he just wanted to win. You know, he got that Italian blood, and he didn't want to lose any game. He wanted to win every game and win by as many as he could, you know. So some people took him different, you know. Off the green, fantastic guy. On the green, he just wanted to win. And I guess that's where I got that passion a bit. And, you know, I've got a lot of time for Robbie because, you know, he's obviously a Commonwealth Games gold medalist as well, and won the Gold Coast Winter Carnival fours. And that basically got me a stepping stone probably into the Queensland team when I was 19 years of age, because I'd won probably the biggest fours tournament in Australia at the time, and we knocked off. And that's when some of the Australian squad players were actually playing in that event. So, you know, it was a real learning curve, and it was the finals at Tweed Heads Bowls Club. It was just like the Golden Nugget at its peak, where the place was absolutely packed, you know. So it was fantastic. Yeah, I've got a lot of time and still talk to him occasionally as well. So, and he's still playing as well. So, yeah, I certainly got no grudges against Rob Parella.
Brilliant. Let's delve into your relationship with Steve Glasson, because obviously, you know, you've come through the ranks together. I know you like to have a dig at each other at the best of times, but there's such a healthy respect as competitors on the green and also as mates, isn't there?
Yeah, well, I guess, you know, we go back to, you know, we both started playing the same time. Obviously, Steve Glasson was a Brisbane boy from Maruka in Brisbane. And, you know, we played the Queensland Junior Championships at Pine Rivers, where obviously, you know, a lot of the big events are held now, the APL for one. And, you know, we compete against one another. I think Stevie knocked me off, obviously, in the Queensland Junior singles one year, I think, when we were both about 17 or 16. And Steve's dad at the time said, oh, that's the, you know, Steve always says this story, you know, the kid over there with the walking stick's the one you got to beat. So Stevie did beat me. I think I was 16. He would have been the same. So that was the Queensland State Juniors. And, you know, a few times, you know, we played one another, and then we both got in the Queensland State team. You know, I got in the year before him, and then Steve come in. So, you know, we played a lot of representative games for Queensland, and then we made the Australian team basically the same time. I think I got in 1994 when I got a call up, like I was saying earlier, for the Trans-Tasman, when Steve Anderson done a hamstring muscle or a groin muscle, I think it was, and I got a call up in 1994 to play my first game in a Trans-Tasman at Noosa. And it was the following year that the Asia Pacifics were on in New Zealand, Dunedin, and Stevie and myself, that was our first real official Asia Pacific team, you know, to go away with in the Australian team. So that was back in 1995. So, you know, we've basically come through the sport as, teenagers and juniors and into the Australian development team. You know, we had trips to Hong Kong, and, you know, that's when, you know, New Zealand as well. So, you know, we've spent a lot of time. Obviously, the UK's been, you know, we've been to the UK quite a few times as well, playing the World Indoor Circuit. So we've spent a lot of time in the game, either against one another or working together in a team, or obviously coaching's been heavily involved in recent years with selecting duties as well. So we're good mates. Stevie's God father to my boys, and vice versa. So we have come a long way together. There's no doubt. We're both 50. I always say, Stevie, you can see who the smoker is. He's bald. He lost his hair. So I'm always, we're born both in 1969, but I always say, mate, you're definitely looking older than me, So hopefully we'll stay good friends and good mates for a long time. I'm sure we will. I've only just recently finished as an Australian selector back in June, so he tried to talk me around again. He's talked me around a few times. Don't worry about that. But yeah, I've had to call it quits because I don't feel that I'm, giving 100% there. I feel that I need to be there more for the other team members as well. So I felt that I was probably letting them down as an Australian selector. So I didn't feel it was fair. So, but yeah, as a good friend and good mate, you'll never meet a nicer guy. Yeah, he's a great guy. He's a great coach. He's well. The words are undescribable. He's just a terrific guy.
Very good. And I'd have been disappointed if you didn't get a little bagging in there, which you've done. So that's good. Let's look at what you've done together for Australian bowls. Certainly in most recent times, the 2018 Commonwealth Games, which is a record-breaking performance for the Australian team. And of course, you were right there on the sidelines, right there for Aaron Wilson's win, right there for the parasport team. Tell us about the pride you got out of being right alongside those wonderful performances.
Yeah, the 2018 Commonwealth Games, I mean, it was here, obviously held in my backyard here on the Gold Coast. Broadbeach Bowls Club was a terrific venue for it. The village is always a great atmosphere. But to be, I guess, working with the para team, that was my role officially as such, to work with the para team, with the pairs and the triples combinations, and to see them all win gold medals as their coach was, thrilled me to bits. I couldn't have been so more pleased to see those guys winning gold medals. Obviously the men's triples with Ken Hansen, the oldest player to play for Australia, and to play a bowl like he did to win a gold medal for his teammates Tony and Josh Thornton. I mean, what more could you ask for? And then to see Aaron Wilson become the third player to win the Commonwealth Games men's gold medal singles winner. So, to witness all of that, and then also our senior players as well do well as well. It was, they're just great memories. It's great to be playing, of course, but it's also, it's good to see being part of a team of the up-and-coming players win gold medals as well, and to achieve their goals, So, and to be working with Steve Glasson as the Australian coach, and now Therese Hastings and Dave Stockham back then to pick the team for that Commonwealth Games. Well, we all had goals. We all had our teams. You try to work together to make the best team, the best compatible team. You want the best players, of course, but, when you go into camp for a month, everyone's got to get on, and it's not that easy, people have got to, have different lifestyles. They want to listen to music or get up early, go for a walk, all these things come into play. So, yeah, it was an honour to be part of that 2018 team, and to see those guys win gold medals and be part of it was, thrilled to bits, mate.
How are you on the sidelines, mate? Are you a nervous watcher, or are you a bit cool and calm?
No, I'm probably honestly, I think during that Commonwealth Games, I was probably more nervous than I've ever been. I don't know. Yeah. I mean, you sort of, come on, mate, come on, you can do this, Ken, draw the shot, like, shit, we've got to win, you've got to get this bowl, this bowl counts, like, they want to win, and it's hard when you see other players nervous, and I think that's what made it really hard. I found it hard that, young Josh Thornton, for instance, the first couple of days he was really nervous. I'm trying to keep him relaxed, and you'll be right, mate. Work through this. Think of the positives, chip away. You tend to try too hard. It just doesn't happen. So, and I think that's what the para team, at the start of the event, they were just thrilled to be playing in the Commonwealth Games. They were thrilled to be playing at Broadbeach. But at the same time, they were just given 150%, you know, and they just had to go back to just being themselves, playing what they do best and playing in a more relaxed atmosphere, you know. So it was great to see. Yeah.
He must have had a good impact on Josh, because his leadership really came through in that gold medal match. You could really see he was a leader on the rink, and that would have been some of your influence, no doubt.
Yeah, no, it was great. Like I said, it was just great to be there and great to be on the sideline, great to be behind the scoreboard, you know, watching them do what they do. And, you know, they're memories that I'll always have. And I still remember, you know, Kenny playing that bowl from the win, you know. So, and Josh, yeah, he was outstanding at the end. He was, yeah, you know, he proved himself, you know. He was really mature and took it all on board. And there was no one more pleased than Josh, I can assure you.
There's something about Com Games and a shirt as well, because I reckon you were in a singlet for most of that, Kelvin. So there's something about not wanting to wear a shirt during the Commonwealth Games for you. But
well, they offered the singlets. I don't know how 𝘱𝘳𝘦𝘴𝘦𝘯𝘵 thought as the CEO of Bowls Australia, seeing one of the coaches out there in a singlet, but was out of his control at that time. So I told Stevie at the time, I said, mate, we've got these singlets. It's pretty warm out there, you know. I mean, let's wear the uniform. So anyway, that's the way it worked out.
Mate, I want to explore some of your overseas achievements as well, because the World Bowls Tour is something we've seen grow quite a bit over the last few years and so forth. And Australians generally go over there and find it pretty tough to compete on the portable rink. But you had quite some success there. You know, 3 World Indoor Pairs, 3 Welsh Masters. What do you put that down to?
Yeah, well, I always used to like playing on the carpet. I think, you know, I just got the opportunity to go over there and I played. I mean, my first World Indoor Pairs game, I played with 𝘱𝘳𝘦𝘥𝘭𝘺. So, you know, another player that was playing good back in the day in the 80s. Well, him and Rob Parella, obviously back in those days, were two of the more senior players, I guess, in the sport back in the 80s. And I guess Dennis 𝘗𝘳𝘰𝘶𝘥𝘭𝘺 as well. You know, back in those days, they're a long time ago, but I guess I got that experience when I went over there and played with 𝘱𝘳𝘦𝘥𝘭𝘺, who at the time was once again at his peak playing in the UK on the portable rink. He was a really dedicated practicer. So he did put a lot of time in on that portable rink when he went to the UK. He'd go there a few weeks earlier. He would practice, you know, 3 o'clock in the morning, 6 o'clock in the morning, after play, you know, be out there practicing. So I think because I seen him do that on my very first trip when I went over there, I then continued that when I got that opportunity to go back and do that as well. So, and obviously with the time difference, you know, the 10-hour travel time, it's always hard when you get to the UK. You come from Australian summer to their winter as well. You know, you can't sleep. It's a different time frame, and you know, you're there to try and win, make the best of it while you can. And yeah, I mean, I guess playing against obviously the best players that play in the UK, it's hard playing against them when they're just living on the carpet for 6-8 months of the year. But you just got to try and make every possibility or every chance a winner. So yeah, I used to go. I mean, Potters, you know, I'd be down there at the indoor at 3, 4, 5, 6 o'clock in the morning, practicing. I've done it a lot, and I wouldn't be ashamed to say that, you know, I might have been in the bar at midnight as well drinking, and I'd go down and have a roll up at 4, 5, 6 o'clock in the morning. I mean, that's what you've done, you know. I didn't mind having a few beers. I've always liked to have a few beers, but even when I went to the UK, I would still get up and practice in the morning, you know. So I think it was just practice, having the right bowls.
I think you said to me, you basically asked them to give you the widest bowls they could find. Is that pretty much it?
Yeah, so, you know, I went, yes, because one of the mistakes was that when the players were going from Australia to the UK, they would, you know, they were using the tighter bowls because that's what we were used to here. And then you get over there and it's a wider, it's taken plenty of grass, you know, plenty of width, and the players over there are using wide bowls. And I just made up my mind that I was going to use what they're using, basically. So, and that's what I done, and I enjoyed playing like that. It suited my game. Probably, the portable rink's not the ideal surface for the best driver going around. Obviously, Rob Parella never done well in the UK on those portable rinks. He probably drove too much, but I tried to rely on my draw shot the best I could and pull out the drive when I had to. It won me some games. It cost me some games, but I enjoyed it. I like playing on the carpet. I certainly like playing on the portable rink. I won a world indoor pairs with 𝘗𝘳𝘦𝘴𝘦𝘯𝘵 and Merv King, who was one of the best draw shot players. I think very underrated player. Just nothing worries him, nothing phases him. So I learned a lot playing with Merv a bit as well. And obviously playing against those guys, they're, Alex Marshall, Paul Foster, Greg Harlow, Andy Thompson, they're all very, very good players. That all, as Alex performs well here in Australia.
Yeah.
All of those players over there that play well on those indoor portable rinks that are running 15, 16 seconds, they'll all play well here as well. You've got to get that experience, and obviously Alex has been out here a lot now, and he knows what our conditions are like, and he plays like an absolute gem. He's one of the best players the world's ever seen, other than David Bryan, I guess. So yeah, portable rink, loved it. Like I said, 3 Welsh indoors, basically in a row. No one's ever done that, so
fantastic.
Thrilled to bits.
What about some of the other honours? Let's talk about those. The Bowls Queensland Hall of Fame in 2008, the Australian Sports Medal in 2000, of course the OAM, the Medal of the Order of Australia in 2010, and then legend status in the Bowls Australia Hall of Fame in 2017. I mean, I know for you, you look at some of those things, and how do you feel about those? It must give you some pride.
Oh, it does. Listen, it's a great honour, and I take it all on board. I hope that everyone that plays this great game of lawn bowls have enjoyed seeing me play throughout my career. I've met so many people in this wonderful game. Through players, juniors, coaches, administrators. Just in general, you meet so many good people, and I think, I've just been fortunate enough that, I had a hard childhood illness that got me into bowls, and then I've achieved, some great achievements, I guess, within the sport, and then to sort of go into a coaching role, and obviously to be honoured as, Order of Medal of Australia was a thrill, no doubt about that. Hall of Fame. They're great recognition to the sport, but I just feel as it's an honour. There's no doubt about that.
You're just who you are, aren't you? Though, and that's the thing. It hasn't changed who you are. And in terms of the changing face of the sport, you're at the helm, I guess, of the APL, now the BPL, of course, and you spearheaded the Brisbane team to victory. I think you might have lost a bowl to a timeout somewhere, to a shot clock somewhere along the line. But live TV and the BPL format, give us your thoughts on that. It's been fantastic.
Yeah, BPL was, it was a great thing for our sport. There's so many people that have tuned in to Foxtel and, of course, watched it since day one. It was great to be part of the Brisbane Pirates back then, and that first year, the first event at Pine Rivers. Pine Rivers is just a great venue. It's a great host venue. It's got great facilities. To go there and actually play for the Brisbane guys and to be part of the team, Robbie Wild and Mark Casey, and win the event. Mate, great memories. It was, they're all memories, but, I still enjoy watching it, and always will continue to obviously watch the BPL. I'm not sure of the future this year. I have heard that it may not be on. I'm not sure, but obviously with the COVID situation. But yeah, certainly going forward, the BPL is a great event.
We could talk for hours here. There's so many more questions I could ask, but let's get down to it. We know that Legacy Lighting is the sponsor of this segment, and we really appreciate them. But it does lend the question: what's your legacy in the sport of bowls?
I guess obviously, like I said, with my early childhood illness, and the situation that I went through, I hope that, and obviously bowl with the walking stick that I've still used today, which I got from the Royal Children's Hospital in Brisbane, that I've been able to, I guess, introduce other people into this sport. Like I said, being a coach of the para team, that thrilled me to bits to see those guys win. I've had a lot of people come up to me over the years, whether it be in a shopping centre or down the street, and say, well, we used to watch you on TV. Now I have a game. I've been out and played barefoot bowls or whatever the case might be. But, if anyone ever seen me play in my peak and when I was playing, and it got them into the game, that gives me a thrill to know that people that, I guess, that may not have got involved, if they, they had a disability in any way, shape or form, that they got out and they're now playing the game of bowls because they seen me playing with a walking stick. So I'm going to put it down to, being, I guess, part of the introducing people that couldn't play and have come out to give it a go after seeing me play bowls with a walking stick on TV.
It's an inspiration, mate. What a story it is, from where you were to gold medal on the biggest stage in the sport. It's been an absolute pleasure to catch up with you, Kelvin, and we really thank you for your time.
No worries. Pleasure, Clive. Anytime.
All right, join us next time for more Legends Under Lights. What fantastic stories they are, and they're proudly presented by Bowls Australia and Legacy Lighting.